Brilliant. Notice.
Thank you.
Can we start? Can we start?
Yes, please.
Good afternoon, all. I will just give a brief introduction of this event before you start the proceedings with the profile of our invited guest. Professor Snehal, please inform Professor Devang. Okay. I will brief the participants as well as our honorable guest about this round table. So this round table has been conceived as a discussion, as a reflection, as a debate by some of the selected students from some countries who on behalf of the youth of Marwadi University, I am not saying students, I am saying youth, so that includes even me, even our dean, because at least,
me also.
and our invited guest also, I was just going to tell that, because we are very much young at heart. So it includes the youth. So the debate, reflection, discourse and so on the theme of this convention, that is attaining the G20 goal of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, whose transliteration in English all of you are familiar with, one earth, one family, one future. So the attaining the G20 goal of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, call to action for the youth. So this call to action is not going to be given by politicians, by diplomats or anybody else, or your teachers for that matter. So the call to action is to yourself only. So collectively and individually, what you plan to do to ensure that we are one family on this earth and we have one common shared future, and what my generation, your generation will leave for the future generations. So sir, we have 12 participants, 14 participants from 12 countries who will be, after your keynote speech, they will be debating, discussing, and it will be moderated by my colleague, Professor, all of you know, Devang Patel, Professor Devang Patel, you have met him, okay. So the proceedings will start formally in few minutes. So he will moderate it, and I request the moderator and the assembly here to come to a common resolution in support of which tomorrow we shall have a signature campaign. You are representing the Marwadi youth, but as a proof that you are representing them, so we have a sample of 2,500 students at least who will be signing a long flex wall in support of the resolution that is adopted in this roundtable assembly today. So with this brief introduction, I hand it over to the anchors.
That is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which means one earth,
More than 3 decades of headlight and service of the ruler and tribunal poor in the forest of India. He is also the founder of Grassroots Research and Advocacy, a public policy think tank in India. Sir, we are really pleased to have you here.
Thank you.
I would like to insist you to please address the audience.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me here. Dr. Sunil, the Dean, Dr. Vijay, Dr. Devang, friends from different countries. I must say I'm really impressed, not just with seeing so many students from different countries, but for learning that this university has got students from 53 countries. I'm not sure any Indian university has got so many students so representing virtually half the world or little less than half the world. So thank you for being in India and studying here. All the more reason why you need to understand G20 from I'm sure today is the world of Google and chat GPTs. You go Google up, you'll possibly learn more about G20 than what even I know, or what some of us behind the screens have been trying to do. So I'll just, to explain the extraordinary achievement of G20 of Delhi and the Delhi Declaration, you must understand the context in which G20 emerged. The G20 came together not to bring people together. It came together to save the economies of the developed nations. So let's not forget that. It was an instrument of the rich to protect their survival. That is the origin of G20. And that is where India's contribution is so significant. When they came together, they were responding to what they saw as an economic downturn. And traditionally, the world measuring itself and its progress and development through econometric and economic terms became nervous, and they wanted to just generate more economic capital for the world. And they thought that can buy peace and happiness. All of us are walking via the Bhutan stall, and the Vice Chancellor was talking about happiness, and the Dean was talking about the index. That's a very Asian concept, and to a great extent maybe African also. But the West reframed the narrative to an economic context and said everything is based on money, and therefore when the crisis of the economy came in, the nations came together and said we should solve it. And so all the financial heads of ministries, that is finance ministers of countries, and the central governors of their own central banks were the ones who were meeting. And then things worsened, and they realized that their convening power is not enough to alter the nation's economic progress, so they need the heads of countries itself. So the G20 as a summit, and when we use the word summit in international parlance, it means the heads of those states come together and meet. That's why it's called the G20 summit, and not a conference or a coming together. Any summit is where the leaders are expected to come together. And 19 countries and European Union, by which time had already become a union, that is 20 of them, that's why it's G20, and no longer is it going to be 20. That's again India's great contribution. Collectively representing close to 85% of the global economy, collectively representing nearly 75% of the world trade, and a substantial part of the world's population. Because if you add India and China in it, we are virtually become quite a bit part of the population. Yeah, 70% itself. And they were meeting, and again their meeting was insignificant. How many of you even remember how many G20 meetings have happened? Honestly tell me. Right? Somewhere in some part of the world something would happen, 3 lines would come in a newspaper, G20 ka meeting ho raha hai, it's happening somewhere, and then we all say, somebody is meeting somewhere, nobody bothers. But then, nobody bargained for a set of countries led by India to take responsibility for the G20. So the last year G20 hosted by the Indonesian presidency, each country takes responsibility for it, And there is no permanent secretariat, unlike the United Nations, which is, I wouldn't call it a failed experiment, I would say it's a failing experiment, and India is trying to make it better. G20 had to also be resurrected from just being an economic instrument, because the world cannot be solved by just economic growth alone. And I would like you to take you all back to a little bit of Indian economic history, and most of us Indians themselves don't know. I'm glad a lot of Indian kids are sitting here. There's a great economic historian called Angus Madison, who wrote a wonderful report called World Economy, a Millennial Perspective. And what he did was he analyzed the economic growth of countries longitudinally over 2000 years and said from 0 AD, which country has been steadily growing and how consistently are they growing. And it's a matter of pride for us Indians that the only country which consistently grew without stopping to grow for 1600 continuous years, from 0 AD to 1600 AD was India. Between India and China, we controlled 68% of the world's GDP. India was a leading GDP with 38% for 1600 years. And something happened after 1600. China slowly overtook India, and then both collapsed. And most of us would know why they collapsed, right? Colonization has got its own brutal destruction in its wake, and India also suffered the consequences. By the time we got our freedom in 1947, 75 years ago, a little more than 75 years ago, we had less than 2% of the global GDP, from 38% in 1600 to less than 2% of the global GDP. I'm giving economic terms because G20 started as an economic policy or economic instrument. We had less than 0.5% of the world trade. We were one of the first countries which sent ships across the world. And we were trading all over the world. But by the time we got our freedom, it was reduced to 5%, 0.5%. And let me tell you some of the nasty tricks that was deployed by the British to destroy India's trade capability. And many of you are from African countries, and most of Africa has been brutally colonized and left to a situation where you have to all work hard, your generation has to work hard to recapture Africa's glory. They made a rule, the British made a rule, that if you have to trade, you can only have ships made in the UK. They would cut down our forest, take our teak wood, take it to UK, make a ship and say only that ship you can use for trading, virtually destroying India's shipbuilding industry. And they didn't only say that, they said Indians had to pay higher rate of customs than the British. So they sort of monopolized trade to the extent where we couldn't grow and sell our own cotton, but we had to send the cotton to Manchester to be made into cloth and sent back to India and pay customs on it. So they dismantled India's capability of trade, commerce, production, and then called us, because they finished India and they didn't have any more reason to be here after 47. But that left us with a long attempt to change India. And Honorable Prime Minister has set a target for us. By 2047, we no longer should be called as a developing country. We should be a model of development. And this model of development is not just economic model, right? We are now already the 5th largest economy in the world with $3.8 trillion, and in the next few years will be the 3rd largest economy in the world. But I'm only using all these economic terms to get you an understanding of what the G20 is. So when G20 comes together, they talk about making sure they only protect their financial interest. They only protect their banking interest. They protect their trade and commerce interest. And India said, enough is enough. And at COP26, the Honorable Prime Minister gave a slogan called LIFE, which stands for Lifestyle for the Economy. And from there, the journey of recrafting what economic growth means started for the world, because India set the standard. And when he came back, and when we took the G20 presidency, We should remember what the world is going through. Enormous conflict. They couldn't even pass the declaration at Bali because of the war of Russia-Ukraine. The war is still going on. So look at India's diplomatic success. We are truly not just a soft power. India is now a smart power. And that's the difference. Economic terms is hard power. Using economic clout for other advantages in a diplomatic way is soft power, but India is intelligently using it as a smart power. And what did we do? We made it the entire G20 as a democratized festival across India. In the last 1 year, personally, I must have attended at least 15 or 16 different events across the country. And the strategic vision of the PM was, we chose places, including last month I was in Modera in Gujarat. We chose the areas where India can showcase its development success, its environmental change, its people, its culture, its food. Now you people, I'm actually full now because I was eating a little bit in every stall. And the wonderful food that each of your country brings in. India is a country of countries. Just imagine the kind of food. Gujarat is a different flavor. Just within Gujarat, I think Saurashtra is different from other regions, right? You go to Surat, the same tepla tastes differently. You go to Ahmedabad, just a little away, it's different. And the whole country is different. So we expose India's diversity as a strength, not as a problem. We showed the world how we can all be united despite being so different. We showed India's enormous archaeological wonders. And more importantly, we democratized and said it is not the economy, but a whole series of discussions. And that's what I'd like this roundtable to reflect today. We had a Y20, a special dedicated discussion on Youth 20. We had a B20, a Business 20, which is important. We had the finance ministers coming together. And finally the summit. We had a Civil Society 20, where he said only governments don't create the narratives and sustain it. Civil society organizations should come together. We had focus on the sustainable development goals because it's not being achieved. It's a joke, right? Then we said multilateral institutions like World Bank, IMF, and the UN are captured and controlled by powerful forces where the rest of the population have no say. Even a major country like India, with all its advantages, has to keep negotiating. And remember, the World Bank, if you notice as young people, the World Bank president is always an American. The IMF president is always a European. All of us are co-owners of the World Bank. Indian government is also an owner. All the countries have invested, but voting is not proportional to membership. Voting is proportional to percentage of investment. How screwed up can you make laws? The international, the WTO agreements that all of us respond to, the IP protection that is there, IPR that is there around the world, many of you may not be aware, and your generation has to wake up. Because IPR and WTO arrangements was word to word lifted. At least today your generation in the world of cut and paste. So when America brought its IP thing into operation, they said this will be the world's IP also. So promoting American industry and protecting it was the primary concern of this IP and not the world interest. No country talks about global interest. Every country talks about informed personal interest, self-interest. That is the norm of diplomacy. But that is right. You should think of your countries. But India said no. We got to think of the world. And that is why we didn't say one world, one people, one future. The world doesn't capture the earth. And all of you young people should remember the distinction. We said one earth, where from the smallest bacteria to the virus to the weeds, to the forest, to the animals, to the plants, the flora, fauna, and the human beings, all of us have to be protected. We're all dependent on each other, and we have to protect ourselves. And we said only when we do that, there's a common future for all of us. If Wuhan has a viral outbreak, the whole world suffered. Right? Today we are having a Nipah virus outbreak in Kerala. It didn't originate in India, it came to India. So keeping all this in mind, one earth, one future, one family in the spirit of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam was the narrative India crafted. And the 5-6 things we focused on, which is not finance. Finance also was there. We focused on how do you attain the sustainable development goals? How do you relook at it? By 2030, just India alone, with a small economic being the fifth largest economy, $3.8 trillion, if we have to meet the SDG commitments, we need $1 trillion every year for the next 6 years. We don't have that kind of money. So we have to find new ways of getting money. So inclusive financing and innovative financing was also a subject India focused on. We said we have to talk that. We can't keep, I chair what is called the Committee on Social Stock Exchanges, where we are trying to create new spaces and opportunities for money to come in to promote the social sector and not wait for the government alone to support it. Then India said we have to reform these institutions. We cannot be doing what the West tells us. We also should have an equal voice. India never said you listen to us. We said we all have to have a voice. And so we have to reform the World Bank, reform the IMF. The amount of debt African nations have, what your generation is paying back is the interest that those countries are levying, continuing to level after they have made so many times their principal. You know, I remember in the Indian civilizational thinking, if I borrow money and I have to repay it, let's say every year I'm not able to repay, the interest keeps growing. There was a limit in our script, in a civilization which said, if your interest equals your principal, that is the highest you have to repay. But unfortunately, the amount of money Africans are repaying to all these big institutions and countries, it is not aid. Some of my African friends should read a book from an excellent African economist, Dombizo Moyo is her name. She wrote Dead Aid. Nations are dying because of this aid, they are not living because of this aid. We are all rich by ourselves, but that wealth and the capability to build wealth has been taken away. And so India said, we got to regenerate it, and that's why there's a Y20. We spoke about a Science 20. We had the science ministers coming together. We had principal scientific advisors looking at the future, crafting policies, uniting science everywhere, from quantum computing to green hydrogen to talking about how do we share scientific literature. You know, we don't have the capacity because people destroyed our capacity, and therefore we can't produce so many journal articles and so much of original research. The West has been keeping the research to itself, and we said if you really believe in sharing, share everything with us. That is the G20 and the power of India in democratizing all that today. So we spoke on SDGs, we spoke on inclusive and innovative financing, we spoke on reforming these global institutions, we spoke on life and the circular economy, and more importantly, the Prime Minister said the 4 Ps. He said the people, the planet, peace and prosperity. We are no longer talking about fighting poverty, we are talking about creating prosperity. And the most important and significant for all the African friends here, we said you cannot talk about the globe, you cannot talk about the world, you cannot talk about the earth if you don't include our African friends into the conversation. So India stood up and said, enough is enough, we have to make it, if you have to change the rules, change the rules. We have to change and to make it G21. And we have formally pushed, we actually proposed and India pushed for it, and we have today the African Union as also part of the G20. That makes sense now. And it's a matter of pride for us. We didn't stop there. We said the global south, it's not India's voice, all of us together. What is traditionally seen as the global north, the moneyed world, and the so-called what they brand us as less developed or small to medium income countries, we said we are the global south, and without us you will not survive. So you need our voice, and we have to collectively bring the global south's voice. So when you friends here discuss, keep in mind the Delhi Declaration is a simple announcement to make, but the effort it took behind the screens, the tens of hours of negotiation, the months of talking to each country. One country says something, the other country will not agree. Other country says something, the third country will not agree. India says something, Pakistan and China will say something else. With all this, getting all the countries to come together and say, we will declare that we'll follow this. And you should also keep in mind what started off with Indonesia representing the global south as the country to take over. India leading the change and taking ownership of all these new ideas. We are handing over to Brazil. And in one of the meetings, the science minister of Brazil was privately sharing with me, and she said, what India has given us is something which we can never imitate. We can never redo what India did. All that we can hope to do is at least carry it to the next year. If we can do that, that will be Brazil. Brazil, a country as large as Brazil says this today. That shows how much we have all come forward. So G20 is not a platform. G21 now. G21 is an opportunity. And if we don't capitalize on this opportunity, where we reshape the narrative to building human and social capital, investing on people, their education, their skills, their health. We even declared one health declaration. It is part of the G20. I don't know how many of you have seen the G20 communique, the Delhi Declaration. One world, one health is also part of it. We are all saying we are so interconnected, and that's again India's contribution. And so please keep in mind when you're talking, all these have to be kept in mind of what we can achieve. And when you can, today it looks like a simple university discussion. Possibly tomorrow you will be the leaders who will actually be negotiating and discussing. So it's time for us to throw away petty national considerations. Time for us not to look beyond our passports. We all have to be patriotic and nationalistic. But if you don't save the world, your nation also will not be available to be saved. So keeping this in mind, together, let's make the world a better place. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. It was really nice to hear you. Your words are really inspiring and motivating to us. The event of roundtable discussion will have the students from different faculties of Marwari University who will throw light on the goal of G20 as a call for you. So let me give you an introduction of the students participating in this event. We have here Ms. Ankita, Faculty of Science, India. Ms. Dheeraj, Faculty of Management Studies, India. Ms. Elizabeth, Faculty of Management Studies, Tanzania. Mr. Victor, Faculty of Law, Uganda. Mr. Molu Baji, Faculty of Physiotherapy, Liberia. Ms. Mercy, Faculty of Physiotherapy, Kenya. Mr. Manson, Faculty of Management Studies, Mumbai. Mr. Prem, Faculty of Engineering and Technology, Uganda. Ms. White, Faculty of Physiotherapy, Rwanda. Mr. Charles, Faculty of Law, South Sudan. Ms. Darshika, Faculty of Management Studies, Sri Lanka. Ms. Mary, Faculty of Arts, Nigeria. Mr. Pippa, Faculty of Faculty of Management Studies, Zambia. Ms. Nijia, Faculty of Computer Applications, Gambia. The whole event will be moderated by Mr. Devang Patel, Head, Center of Family Business and Entrepreneurship, Marwari University. Let me introduce you to Mr. Devang Patel. Mr. Devang Patel is professional with an impressive 2 decades journey in coaching, consulting and facilitation. He heads the Center of Family Business and Entrepreneurship at Marwari University with the objective to develop family business ecosystem in Saurashtra region of Gujarat. He is also the founder of Vantage Point Executive Performance Coaching, specializing in fostering business growth. He holds the position of entrepreneurship mentor at multiple incubation centers like Attaining Innovation Center, Birla Institute of Management Technology in Noida, and many more. He is internationally accredited coach as well. He has offered high impact training and facilitation to corporate firms like AC Nielsen, F1 Infrastructure, RK Industries, and many more. Moreover, Mr. Patel has tenure as a head and academic dean at prominent corporate B-school in Gujarat, renowned for its strong foundation in entrepreneurship and blue ocean strategy. So, to continue with the event, I would like to hand over to Devang. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hello. A very good and a warm welcome to the young minds who have gathered here to shape the world. Respected Subramaniam sir, respected Dean sir, respected Dr. Bhujbal sir, faculty, team colleagues, coordinators and other invited guests, and the dear participants in this moderated session. We have around close to 32 to 33 minutes to work through the moderation session. So I will just lay a context in 1-2 minutes. Sir has already briefed about everything. and I will lay the agenda for this session. Well, the idea actually is to, after the discourses where you will shape up and where you will share the ideas, the net output we expect is, together we want to come up with a declaration of sorts, a union of sorts, a unison of sorts, where we together, you 14 students representing your countries and departments, but now studying in Marwadi University. So we want to come up with an emblem, we want to come up with a declaration at a university level and impact all what we can with the resources what we have. We have also seen that the philosophical idea of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, very nicely narrated by Sir, has been a conceptually very foundational idea. Some questions which we want to put to you. So the agenda is very simple. You will be given first round 30 seconds to 1 minute very quickly, maybe less than 1 minute, to launch yourself and share a single line summary of what the theme One World, One Earth, One Goal means to you. Single line summary. Please restrict the time. Then we will open it up and we will go for a moderated discussion. I will post some questions and we will discuss it up, and in the end we will come to a consensus. Net around 25-30 minutes. That is what the vision is. So the philosophical idea has been profound. The questions which come up, if I'm observing the whole thing, is who will make it a reality? That is the first question that comes up. Second is such a great thought. How do I, as a student studying in a university on the west parts of Gujarat or India, do something so that within my limited resources, and the question as to what can I actually do even. I'm busy in my studies, I'm busy in my assignments, I have a career to do, I have a personal life to manage. So if the theme being well accepted, and if there are any ideas there also, what do I do? That's a question which is to be posed to all of us, point one. Point two is, you, the youth, will be shaping the future of the world. And as we compare the youth density in India, we are the best possibly. So what do you want to do to go beyond your country boundaries and shape up a genuine Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, not at a metaphorical slogan level, but at an action execution level with your limited resources that you have? That's the question which we are going to discuss. What are the challenges that you foresee that may come in the process, if any? And what are the actionables that we want to come up to after this discussion? That is the basic theme of what we want to go through. I'm cutting my individual speech shorter because of lack of time. I'm opening up the moderation session. Round one, we may want to complete it in less than 8-9 minutes. 30 seconds, any random order, maybe ladies first. Single line definition of what this theme of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam means to you, and where are you on this? What's your stand? Name and country and announcements already been done. So you may all directly start with your, and other, if you want 1 minute time, I can give you 1 minute time to think and write. Do you want a time? Yeah, that's great. So anyone can speak, but we give preference to the ladies. Also, anyone? Single line summary, 30 seconds to 45 seconds. What does it mean to you? One world, one family, one earth, one globe, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Yes, please. Yeah, thank you.
One earth, one family, one future is a powerful vision. Is a powerful vision for a sustainable and peaceful society, emphasizing that we are all interdependent with a shared obligation to have a peaceful society. And this encourages us all to come together as one in order to provide a solution for the future generation. Thank you, sir.
Just press that green button. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for the chance. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam to me in true terms means that we have to be respectful to all the religions, communities across. In fact, the diaspora that is coming to us, we have to be respectful to them as well and be not hostile towards any religion or any thought.
Okay, real unity in diversity is what. Thank you. Yes, please. Yeah, keep on speaking. Thank you.
Thank you for the chance, sir. I think for me what it means, one family, one earth, and one world, it's selfless and inclusive. As we can see here, we are included, a lot of us are from different nations, and we have come together because we are thinking of the future generation. It's not only us, but we are being selfless, and that's what I think it means.
Hello. Yes, thank you so much. To me, I think one earth and one family and one future. I think it actually gives us, it directs us into accepting the differences that we have. We have understood the globe alone itself has got a lot of differences, might be religious differences, might be probably where you stay culturally, but now this term alone is trying to give us the view that we have to accept the differences that we have, at the moment, and we have to work toward achieving something in common. The one future is something big that we are supposed to be working towards.
Yeah, definitely. It's something big.
Yes.
Very good. So we have a visualization,
Yes.
and we are thinking towards that bigger part of the picture. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, just to add on what he has said, when we're talking of one earth, one family, and one future, the major barrier that we have is nationalism and the ethnocentrism. Now, if you look at these two things, they are the major cause of wars, conflicts, inequalities, and we can also talk of environmental issues. All these are just there just because of nationalism and ethnocentrism. Now, when we're talking of one family, we have to find the solutions. How can we forget about nationalism and the ethnocentrism? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, please.
To add on all they have said, we are talking about one future. The last component is one future. So as much as we have the solutions to this, we have to honor our words. We have to emphasize and actualize what we have come to, and we have to make sure that this future actually happens, not just by words, but by action. After saying our solutions, let us actualize what we are saying. Thank you.
Okay, no, words don't matter, they matter, but actions do matter more. Thank you. Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. One earth, one family, one future. This means we try to promote peace, tolerance, inclusivity and dialogue of the world. We also try to promote these all things among the nations. Thank you.
Yes, please. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. Personally, I believe Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam comes down to one word. To me, it's equity. Don't confuse it for equality. Equity, to be very specific. This brings us to a lot of different factors. If everyone, particularly since we're discussing the youth, if every youth had equal opportunities, equal access to a good future, a lot of the world's challenges would be solved. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. This side, yes.
Thank you very
long.
much for the opportunity. And for me, what one earth, one family, and one future means to me, when I look at this, it gives me a responsibility as a youth. What responsibility is it giving me as a youth? Because the future that we are talking about here, who is going to live it, if not me as a youth? So the responsibility that I get as a youth of the future that I want to be is what I'm supposed to do today. Look at how I'm going to make the earth one, and how we're going to make the whole earth as a family, that we have a proper and enjoyable future as we go, because the future that we're talking about is we, the youths, that are going to live it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Sorry, thank you very much. And please give me a minute. Let me thank the Indian government through the PM for accepting Africa as a permanent secretary. Thank you very much for that. To me, one earth, one family, one future, it's talking about peace, harmony, innovation and growth. There is no growth, there is no economic, there is no sustainable development without peace. So peace and harmony basically is the key. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
A very good afternoon. Thanks for the opportunity given. When I firstly heard about this theme that has to do with one earth, one family, and one future, the first thing that came to my mind was a thought of the United Nations. And in regards to that, I asked myself one question. Why if the United Nations was made of only India or the United States of America, how far could they achieve their goals? But then I try to relate it with the G20. And I find out that with this, there is strength in unity in diversity as well. So with this, it means a lot to me that young people are given the chance to put out their views to save the earth, make the earth look like a family where we have a common ground and we'll be able to achieve, like a catalyst that would make us to achieve what we hope for in the near term to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes? Press it long. Yeah.
Thank you for this opportunity. Even Sri Lanka is not a part of G20. We are really glad that we are given this opportunity to share our views. And according to my point, the one family should be possible if you all united with one theme and also understanding and empathy. And also we have said that if unity is existing in the country, we all can achieve this theme correctly. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. For me, one earth, one family, one future. What I get from this, for one family, we have to be unified, inclusiveness, collaboration, cooperation, and respect to each other. With all this, with all our differences, now we can attain one future with sustainable development.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Thank you so much. First and foremost, I would like to say that India has created
Yes. Thank you. Anyone remaining? Nearly all have shared the views. I was just noting down the keywords which came about, and there's a host of these keywords. Just analyzing and writing them randomly, identifying the world citizens as a common human race, sustainability, peace, equity, inclusion, equality, diversity, responsibility of the youth, equal access to resources, and equal access to opportunities. Possibly these 9-10 themes are emerging from a youth's angle. We would have discussed and debated on all, actually, if we had the required time. But seeing the paucity of time, I invite all of you to be with me to discuss for the next 10-12 minutes on the role and responsibility of the youth for possibly achieving one or all of the objectives. Some questions I have for you, and now we can open up the discussion for all to speak. Raise the hand and speak, and if you want to contradict someone, do it positively. If you want to support someone, acknowledge the other person, and then, right, that's the way it is. So we are collecting ideas, and the goal is to come to a consensus. I already shared these questions again. So for achieving one or more of these objectives on a 10-year framework or on a 20-year framework, and bringing the world as one place, surpassing geographical boundaries of the nations, my question to you young thinkers is, what is your role in bringing all what you want to bring in the world? Question 1. Question 2. in your limited capacity as a young citizen of your country, studying in the university, what is the small micro actions that you want to take? What are the small wins that you want to bring that will change what you want to? And third and most important question, what are the challenges that you face may come in the process? I'll just repeat it. What is your role? What are the micro wins that you want to get while you are studying to achieve all what you want to achieve? And what are the challenges that may come in the process? And if you want support of the government, if you want support of the academic institutions at large, what would be that support? To do all what the country wants to get it done with you as a supporter. Yeah? That's the way it is. So think for 1 minute and then I will keep the round table open. Write down your thoughts and we will keep the round table open for the next 15-16 minutes. Thank you. Remember, it's the micro win which is more important, right? So we'll focus on the micro win. Wait, 1 minute. 45 seconds to go, 1 minute to go, we will then start the discussion. Thank you. So, yes.
Thank you so much. Once again, I'm Victor from Uganda. I would like to...
Just press it long, press it long. A green light will come. Yes.
Great. I'd like to preface my submission with what are...
Fair, no problem. You're audible, you can go ahead.
Yes. He said that if you want to make the world clean, you have to first sweep your compound. And so the question you've asked is, what role do we have to play? I think looking at the micro bit of our society starts from our home and people around us. And I think that as young people, we need to get involved. We need to get involved. We have very fresh energy that we need to put together as a synergy of abilities, of potentials, of inabilities equally. To see that we include everyone in the fight against the cancer that we are facing right now. And number two, what have we done in our micro societies and communities? Personally, I'm a very passionate debater. I also do art in terms of poetry and performance, and I think that I have tried to use my potential to see that I affect those around me, talking to them either to address mental health issues or to give them entertainment and fun.
Correct.
And at the same time, create that kind of atmosphere to involve everyone.
Correct.
And so I think that the challenge we are facing right now, in as much as we want to do much as young people, is that we are not heard. Sir, if you look at the report of the G7 in 2021, young people were questioned on how much they feel. They said that 64% of the youth say that they don't feel heard. They don't feel heard. And even if for those who are heard, about 18% are men and 8% are women. So you find that there is an imbalance somewhere in terms of how we need to be heard. And I think as young people, if the elders are able to hear us, it is much better for us.
Thank you. Thank you. So, can I use my personal skills? Thank you, sir. Welcome. Can I use my personal skills to shape my micro communities, the thought that you are raising? Very good. Quickly, yeah. Yes, please. Quickly. Keep it short so that we can involve
I
everyone.
strongly agree with Victor, and I put forth the thought that when youth are self-aware, when they are aware of the potentials that they possess, they can help them in society. For instance, there is a subject called agriculture extension, and that is when farmers are being taught the transfer of technology. So when youth engage themselves in activities where they actually help people in extending education, carrying out outreach camps and having such NGO work like things, that would be very beneficial. And for that, education institutions can be of great help because they can allow us with permissions, give us the equipments that we require and help us gather a large audience. The next challenge that would come would be convincing the audience that what we are doing is actually in fact true and should be done. That is a great challenge, and that is why we can face that with patience. Thank you so much.
Using education, using my subject to impact my community. That's the second theme which is emerging. Quickly, yes, thank you. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. And I believe, in as much as we are looking for solutions as the youth, one of the main things we can focus is working together. If youth don't come together and unite as youth, the elderly people might not help us as much, because one thing we should all agree is every youth in the world is looking for basic opportunities to maneuver through life, at least not to thrive and maybe become very rich and all that, but basic sustenance, healthcare levels, and to get there we need to work together, even as youth. So this brings me to a common point. Youth today have so many good ideas, but they don't come together, they don't work together to build them. You find everyone is struggling to lift themselves alone, and in as much as they think maybe I'm already good enough, but they are still very down below the bar. So I believe youth need to unite more. Personally, as a young engineer and businessman, an education activist, I've tried to do a little of this in my capacity by trying to unite as many as I can to work together, help people find better opportunities, but as one united front.
Thank you. So the theme which is emerging is, can I make my people of my age come together? That is the theme which is emerging to get it actualized. We acknowledge the presence of sir in the house. Thank you for visiting, sir. Yes, please, quickly, 1 minute. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. One thing I think we should do away with is assumption. We should learn how to make inquiry. We all are from different places. I should not assume we have the same view. I should not assume somebody else will behave like me. So when we try to assume, we tend to get the wrong information. But when we make inquiry, what is being done in your country? And during the time of we making inquiry, we should not try to hear, but we should listen. Like listen with passion. We should listen that, yes, I want you to be heard, not that we should not have the mind that talk so that we'll be able to counter you. We should listen to understand. And when we do this, we have to give more respect to each other's.
So giving mutual respect and listening is what your suggestion is.
Yes.
Very quickly, we want to include many people. Yes. Keep it short, please. Thank you.
Giving me the floor. For me, I would start with who. Who is the youth? We are the only one that can fix the problem. And how, at my own corner, is I am fortunate to be one of the executive in Gambian students in India. Our first webinar that I organized was to invite our ambassador, and the theme was roles of youth in national development. And that definitely paid a dividend, because youth, talking to them, that my point is coming to like how to involve the youth in like developing or national development, or this theme we're talking about. So the key issue here that I want to talk about, or what I want you to understand, is we have to involve the youth by talking to them in their own level.
Okay, so engaging into conversations is what you are taking. Yeah, very good.
Tell them sometimes they don't know.
And communicate more. Thank you.
And then they will
Thank you. Quickly, yes, thank you.
Okay, sir, thank you for giving me the chance once again. For me, I think if I want to put this in a nutshell, I think that the first thing that we have to do is to cultivate a positive mindset.
Yes.
Because nowadays I observe in my surrounding that youth, based on our mindset, we have shown many lines of limitations. Like the youth, you think that you are not qualified enough to make decisions when it comes to politics or when it comes to policy making. You think that you are not good enough to add an input to someone else's life. So for that reason, you keep yourself in a cage where you think that without me being here, I'm not going to interfere with anyone. And one thing I see is that young people of these days, we find it very much difficult to leave our comfort zone.
Yes.
And by not leaving your comfort zone, it also draws a limitation for you, because wherever you feel comfortable, you feel that that is the best for you, but there are other good things out there.
So what is the micro win that you're looking at? One sentence.
So what I'm looking at, I will put it in my own case, for me, cultural understanding and promotion.
Cultural understanding and promotion.
And promotion for me. How can we do this? We have to think beyond race and ethnicity. Because, for instance, me, particularly when I came to India, I literally spent most of my time in hostel, not knowing the city, who to talk to, not to talk. But I could not stay there as long as I am when I want to explore India. So I had to come out and ask questions. Ask questions, get understanding of the culture that I find myself in, and with that, I was able to unite myself with other nationalities.
Thank you so much. Two last views from this side. Yeah.
Okay, just to add
Just
on,
focus on the micro win.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to add on what he has said about cultural understanding and the promotion. Now, we're not talking of cultural understanding and promotion. As youth, we have to be exposed to different cultures. And the moment you are exposed to different cultures, it enhances empathy and it reduces prejudice. Now, the moment there is no prejudice, everywhere you go, you are just like you are home. In short,
Yes.
there is one family. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Last two views. Yes, please. Thank you. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. So, sir, you talked about how we can get support from the government and institutions. In Maradi, we are privileged to have the MUIRR.
Yes.
It's giving us the opportunity to give our own innovations.
Yes.
And especially the management and, engineering community. And if we go on a government level, I would urge the government to mostly give investments into small businesses, especially the youth have so many businesses, but we don't have the capital or we don't have investors. So I will urge this from the government side.
Thank you. Last two views from this side. Yes. Quickly, 30 seconds. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think quite a number of people have talked about how we have to think inclusively. That's one of the major things. As youths, we are supposed to be in the way that we have to think, we have to be considered,
Yes.
We have to understand that it's actually something that we are supposed to do. We don't expect people from elsewhere to come and
Yes.
do it for us. It's something that we have to develop as a cosmic dream, that it's actually our responsibility. We are supposed to be doing that. And I want to emphasize more on the challenges that we face. I think it's quite difficult because we shall understand that as a country like India is emphasizing maybe issues of climate change. While in a country probably where I come from, we shall find that we are actually running out things like civil wars are actually happening and people are so poor, illiteracy is actually happening. So
what do you want to do in your individual capacity?
Yes.
What can you do?
Yes.
One single line action, please. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. As an individual, as my own responsibility, I think what I have to do is I have to start to think inclusively. I have to now start
Yes.
to advocate, and I have to encourage my fellow youths that this is actually our responsibility. Our leaders, as per now, they are just trying to make an orientation for us to be in that part, but now it's our responsibility.
Inclusion is what you're talking.
Absolutely.
Thank you. One last comment.
Actually, if we want to achieve this word into action, means one earth, one family, one future, one of the most important challenge is the lack of global awareness and education. So if we want to achieve this word into action really, so we have to aspire to learn about global issues, cultures and interconnectedness of the world. So as a youth, what we can contribute? So we educate yourself and others through discussions, documentaries, online courses. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Any last views? We are short of time, but quick two views from this side. Yeah. So micro win and challenge. That is what you have to share. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, for this, I wanted to add a point on what he said, that also he talked about it, that we don't get, our voice is not being heard, but there is a way that we can make it heard as youth. by signing petition. This thing is rarely done most of the times, that we don't come together to if we see something is wrong, why don't we come together to give our own view? That's something I can think about, that we have to sign petition, and also in addition with education, that we can use internet. We have opportunity to have internet. It's easy to access, even though I may not get opportunity to go to this country, but diversity with using internet, we can use it in a positive way to influence the cultural diversity on the world.
Thank you so much. Yes, please, quickly.
Thank-
Micro-win and challenge.
Okay, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. I want to say that youth, we need to be honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
We are in a generation that is moving so fast. In 10 years, things were moving, but now in 2 years, a lot of differences. And so our focus level is very low, to be truthful. And if we compare with the older generation, we are not patient enough, our morals are low, and we are not disciplined. We start something and we don't finish it. We need to know as youth that things take time. We have to be patient, we have to be skilled, we have to gain experiences. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I don't know whether we have time, but 30 seconds, please. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. One of the challenges I notice is the resources we have are limited. So we should have the mind that the resources are limited. And as a result of this, we have to utilize them properly. We have to make judicious use of the resources we have, because we cannot say we are one family. We have to cater for the planet we are living. Therefore, we have to make use of the energy, the reuse of energy recycle. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. I don't know, but yeah, if 30 seconds, yes, not more than 30 seconds. Thank you. Micro-win and challenge. Please.
Mahatma Gandhi once said that there is enough for the need but not for the greed. So we do have lot of resources, but proper utilization, channelization
Yes.
is something that is the responsibility of youth now.
Thank you. Wonderful, wonderful. One sentence.
I would like to head as incidents which happened in my country last years. So when the times of economic crisis happened, so lack of initiating were happened. So what happened was the Aragala, which is called, that protest starts from the university students. They're the one who started. After they're starting, everyone joined together. And we proved that if everyone united together, we can change the political parties even.
Wonderful.
And after that, there's awareness of like unity. And also we were divided by the language only. We have 3 decades of war. But
Yes.
after that, we understood we should accept the differences. Of course, we have divided by the language and also, but us, united by the love.
We have the power within, and we just have to touch base to the power is what. Thank you so much. Thank you. We can take 1 point. Sir. Thank you. Sir is allowing 1 point. Yes, please. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. In my country, back in Zambia, there is a statement that the youth use. They say education was a key to success back then.
Yes.
But right now, the government have changed the lock. What do they mean? Because the people can be educated, but there are no jobs out there.
Yes.
But one plea I have to the government or to the institutions out there is that we should adopt the education system that is going to give knowledge to the youths, not for seeking jobs,
Yes.
but knowledge to create jobs for ourselves
Wonderful.
and be able to develop the nations. So I personally am looking forward to have something that I'm going to use
Wonderful.
to create jobs for others, even as I come out with other youths together that we may move together. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, if you're requesting last 15 seconds.
Point was to do with youth being honest to themselves, and I would just like to say that on top of honesty, youth should also know that they are not just recipients of aid, but they are also agents of change.
Wonderful. Can we have a round of applause for him? Wonderful. Thank you. Yes, we can move towards the closure. So within restricted time, our idea was to understand what you all have in your minds about the term called Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, and around 12 themes emerged. And to the questions which were posed, what do I do within my limited environment, within my resources, and what are the challenges which I face? I'll take only a few seconds to summarize. What emerged as a micro win is my recognition as a youth, as an agent of change. We take the Sri Lankan example or we take other example. I need to be understanding a variety of cultures through knowledge and internet and education. I need to sweep and clean my compound first. That point of view came from there. I need to use my academics at my local level and go outside my classroom to help build up a society. I need to ask a lot of questions. I need to worry about what is happening in my surroundings. I need to be an entrepreneur. I need to give jobs. I need to be aware about what's happening in my country and other countries of the world. I need to be inclusive. I need to be a part of a petition, which we are already wanting to sign maybe tomorrow, and set up a world record of sorts. And in doing all of these, I may face some challenges, like it is difficult. Do I understand the meaning of what I am talking? And will my action impact the world in a larger way or in a smaller way? I need to learn. I need to seek support from the government for funding or for others. And how do I cultivate a patience at a young age, which the seniors have? How do I manage my limited resources and be more resourceful? And how do I convert my education for entrepreneurship? That are some of the challenges which are kind of coming. I thank Marwadi University, Dean Sir, Subramaniam Sir and Bhujbal Sir for giving me this opportunity. In the last 26 minutes possibly, we could listen to nearly all of you. If someone was not given opportunity, please accept my personal regrets. The conclusion, what I am just summarizing the theme, is as follows possibly. We, the youth of Marwadi University, therefore, recognize the goal of India's presidency of G20/G21, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. It cannot be one country's priority, it must be a way of life for every family member of this earth, is what we recognize as the youth. And together, we all should, must, and we will resolve to contribute to whatever we can, academics, entrepreneurship, micro-wins, actions, to the best of our ability to achieve the goal during our entire lifetime. Although the presidency is for only 1 year, but the contribution that we can give to the world is until we live on this planet. Therefore, together, let us speak loudly in our minds. We just repeat loudly in our minds, or you can speak also. We can all repeat after my speech, yeah? We resolve to leave a better future for our subsequent generations and make a world, one common family, a place to live in for all. Amen. Thank you so much. Over to the host for the... yes. We will have a group photo with the provost sir also and registrar sir. Over to Bhujbal sir.
Yeah, before we go for the photo session, I have two humble questions to our guest, Dr. Bala. The first is that you said, sir, India is a country within country. So what will happen to my Akhand Bharat? Okay. And second is, sir, your comments on what you see today in Marwadi campus. The second question, please.
Okay. The second question is easy. I think having gone through the last year engaging in all the G20 activities and listening to all of you, I normally don't take notes. And I must confess I took 2 pages of notes from just what young people said. I went like this before the G20 started. And I would have had a lot more to take to the table. I live with hope. I came, it was very difficult for me to take time off to come because sometimes we ask this question, for the sake of 1 hour interaction, should I travel all the way from Delhi, spend 2 hours, and I know my phone is full of messages about, so I have to work through the night tonight to catch up for tomorrow. So we get this doubt, is it really worth it? But today I can look back and say it was much more than worth it. Thank you for making it so.
Yeah, thank you so much. I want to give Angela one question. Now that G20 is actually expanding so far, we have got African Union in it, making the countries to be 21. Are there prospects that the names can be renamed?
So, sir already mentioned that G21 is there. So definitely it is going to be a...
It's already accepted and approved by the G20 group of nations, and they welcomed the African Union. So do you still want me to answer your first question?
If you could, please, sir.
No, I think there's a difference between the use of the word country. Possibly, when I said a country including a lot of countries, it represents three different ideations. The first ideation is civilizational. India as a civilization has got a huge appreciation, and within it there are a lot of micro contexts in which the civilization operates. That's the first thing. Second thing is political. We are a cooperative, what the Prime Minister calls cooperative federalism, where we have distinct responsibilities of the state and distinct responsibilities of the citizen. So it's a political, geographical, administrative understanding of what I meant. The third is historical. We are a nation of nations. We're all independent nations. We decided not to become a union of states, countries, like the European Union or the African Union. We decided to become a union of states. And that's why I said country containing a lot of countries. Please don't give me anything to carry.
You will have to carry a lot of load from here. The connections.
Oh, that I'll carry. That I'll happily carry.
You'll have to carry yourself.
We have one shawl also for extremely shawl.
They can keep sitting here and they can come and stand. Yeah. That would be better. Because if we go in the front, then we cannot sit there.
All the participants, please come over here. Please stand.
You can come closer.
you.